My name's Jody, and I'm SitterTree. And this webinar is especially important because I understand that there is a lot of hesitancy around considering the thought of churches paying for childcare services from outside of your congregation. And just understanding the importance of having church members who align with your core values and your beliefs to be the ones who are pouring into children in your ministry. You're leading a ministry, not just a childcare program. However, the challenges now exist about just busyness and shifts in church volunteer culture. So I myself have volunteered in my children's ministry over 30 years. And as Cedar Tree started partnering with churches to book paid childcare, like to actually be the ones where churches could connect with the childcare providers, I myself had a little bit of many conversations and some concerns with friends if this would be helpful to provide a source to churches or hurtful to the mission of the church, just for those reasons of, previously volunteers from within the congregation being the ones who care and pour into children in your congregation. But again, returning to parents are busier than ever. And many parents, as you know, arrive to church feeling exhausted from the week. And this really has changed the way churches are ministering to families now. So rather than asking parents, especially parents with infants or littles, to volunteer once or twice or even more than that each month, many churches are pouring or are investing in outside support for their children's ministry, apart from purely relying on volunteers. So if your church has a strong volunteer culture, that is a gift. I would say lean into that. And I'm guessing someone, maybe that's you, is spending a lot of time to recruit and to manage and to care for your volunteers. So if you don't have the volunteers, or if your growth is outpacing the number of volunteers you have, or if you're a church plant and you just haven't had time to cultivate that volunteer culture yet, outside childcare support may be the best way that you can safely care for children in your congregation. And I'll say one last thing. If any of you are familiar with Ministry Safe or the sexual abuse prevention training that they offer, which is excellent, you know that your children's ministry is the one ministry you can't backfill on a Sunday morning. So if you have a last minute need for a volunteer on the parking team or the welcome team, you can throw a new volunteer in there and it's easy peasy. But with children's ministry, you just can't do that safely. So in addition to that, children's ministry requires a lot of volunteers because you can only have so many babies in a room without having so many extra hands in a room also. So for that reason, in the last few years, SitterTree has started partnering with more than 1,000 churches across the nation who are using outside or looking for outside church childcare providers to either help run their children's ministry or sort of a hybrid approach. So I invited Ashley Grandchamp here today to join me because Ashley is the early education manager at Peachtree Church here in Atlanta. And Peachtree Church has partnered with SitterTree for a number of years. Ashley is very well versed in what works for their children's ministry, which is a larger children's ministry, but how they use outside childcare support versus volunteers. So I wanted to welcome Ashley and just turn it over to you to tell us a little bit about your ministry and also sort of the heart behind what you're trying to accomplish on Sunday mornings as well as other programs.
Yeah, happy to be here. So like Jody said, my name's Ashley. I've been at Peachtree for just about 5 years now. I do believe we were using SitterTree before I came on staff. And when I first came on staff, it was a little jarring, I think, for me, because I'd always been a part of a church where volunteer culture was just kind of a given. And so it took me a minute to understand, and I think I probably had a lot of um, questions and concerns that other churches, likely you have as well. And over the last 5 years, I have realized what a gift SitterTree has been for our church and for me specifically, so that I can focus on the mission and our ability to really love on families. And so I'll talk about that a little more in detail. But our church is large. On a Sunday morning, we have three services. Our nursery, which is 8 weeks to 3 years old, has about 160 kids on a Sunday morning. And our preschool has about 175, and preschool pre-K, so 3 to 4.5, 5. I would say all of like birth through fifth grade, we have about 500 kids on a Sunday morning. So our church is quite large. We have opted to use SitterTree on Sunday mornings for our nursery. And so we get about 18 sitters per Sunday to help cover the nest, which is what we call our nursery. And then we use volunteers for our preschool ministry. So preschool ministry has 10 classrooms, so that's 20 volunteers. And then our nursery has 8 classrooms, which would be another 16 to 20 volunteers, depending on if it's, high holidays and that kind of thing. And so really what this has done is it's allowed me to focus on our families. I think our families with littles, like they are in the trenches. They are not sleeping through the night. They are working moms that are trying to figure it out. They have older siblings that are going from sport to sport. And it is such a gift for us to be like, hey, in this season, we don't need you to volunteer. We don't need you to be in here listening to more crying babies when you have been up with a crying baby for the last 6 hours. And it is a gift for our families. I think also it allows me to be relational in a way that there's no pressure. So I think sometimes congregants can feel a sense of like, oh, she only wants to be my friend because she needs a volunteer. Whereas in the nursery, we just get to love on them. We get to meet them where they're at. I get to take them to coffee and go to lunch and, go and visit their new babies. And there's not an agenda. And so then when we do get to preschool ministry, there's already a relationship that's been formed. And so it is an easier ask, in my opinion, to then be like, hey, now that we are in preschool ministry, the expectation is that you serve twice a semester, and parents are like, oh yeah, easy. And if I have to call up a parent for volunteering, I have a relationship with them already, and so they are more likely to be like, yes, happy to help you out in that way. Um, we also use SitterTree for one-off events. So we do. Um, we do different, it's called Honor Academy, but it's like a different, like a Sunday night programming. And it happens just for like 6 weeks, once a semester. And so we'll use Sitter Trees for that if we are offering childcare. I have a weekday Mom's Morning Out program. And so we utilize Sitter Tree as well during the week as subs if my weekday teachers are out. And so, we have been able to use it in a variety of ways, and it has truly helped, the way that I do ministry. I think in addition, something that I love is we get to minister to our sitters. And so it's not just they're serving us. I get the opportunity to serve them. And so part of that looks like equipping them and making sure that they're prepared for a Sunday morning. So when they come and check in with us, we have them all go, and this is on a Sunday morning specifically, we have them all go to a classroom, and then we show them a video. And the video basically says, hey, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad that you're here to partner with us and to love on these kids. Here are the expectations. Here's what to do if X happens or Y happens. And I think the feedback that we've received from sitters is that it is a very welcoming environment and that they don't have to question whether or not they're wanted. And I think I can speak for anyone in ministry that the goal is to make sure that anyone who enters our doors feels valued and loved, cared for, and seen the same way that Jesus sees us. And so that has been a huge gift that I maybe didn't necessarily see coming when using SitterTree. And just like a small example of that is we've got one longstanding sitter who just recently tragically passed away, and half of our team is going to her memorial service next week. And because she's one of us and she's someone that we have built relationship with and rapport with. And so the opportunity to then go and love on her family and kind of take the name of Peachtree even further is such a blessing.
Ashley, that's phenomenal. And just you've covered a lot there, but I will say that Peachtree also, it's not only that SitterTree may not be the only option out there to be sourcing, outside childcare, but oftentimes we've heard that people, when you're looking for that, you're having to go to like a nanny agency or, other agency services where they're kind of sending you someone that you have somewhat little selection over. And so one thing that myself coming out of a background volunteering in children's ministries, I know it well. I'm, currently involved at my own church still. And so we really did try to make SitterTree unique for churches if this is something you're looking for to kind of source outside. I want to talk also a little bit about, before I ask Ashley what that looks like, some of the things that your volunteers, like what you require a volunteer to go through as far as any training and what you would look for when you're actually getting to select your own sitters for a position. Like when you're using the app or the website, what are some things that are available to you that you look for when evaluating if you want to book a sitter?
Yeah, so our volunteers have to go through a somewhat lengthy process, and I think anyone in child safety knows that you want it to be a little bit lengthy so that you are deterring certain people from entering in. But that means that it's not quick, so we can't, I mean, like Jody said, we can't backfill in children's ministry because they need to go through a certain list of criteria before they can come in. Whereas with SitterTree, I can go on the app right now and I can look at someone who's applied, and it will tell me, have they been background checked? Yes, because they have to in order to join the platform. Have they participated in Ministry Safe? So they have an understanding of the safety from
Abuse
uh,
prevention training.
yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Um, do they have experience with children with special needs? Do they have experience with infants, 0 to 6 months? Are they more so with kids 4 and older? And so I think those are things specifically that we look for, especially because we are looking to fill our nursery. We're going to be looking for the people who have experience with the younger kids and who enjoy that. And I think what's nice is then if someone comes and we're like, man, we really loved them, we're allowed to favorite them. And then in the ranking process and in favoriting them, they see our postings faster, and so we can choose them quicker. You can choose to auto book, and so it'll auto book your sitters that are your favorite. So again like a lot of simplicity. And I don't know if this is the time you want me to talk about like booking and how far out.
Yeah, I'd love to just
Okay.
walk them through your process, like take like 2 minutes to do that of what, because again, you are booking a lot of sitters and many churches will only need one or two. Nevertheless, the process is the same, whether it's few or a lot.
Right. So you have the ability, like you can book out for the entire semester. We don't just for some financial reasons. And so I book out for a month. And so normally like the last week of the month, like earlier on that end, but it would be nice if I did it sooner, but realistically, the last week of the month. I then book for the following month, and I will put reoccurring 18 sitters per the day. This is the time frame, and then I'll post it, and we will have applicants then apply. And so we'll wait normally 1 or 2 days for applicants to apply, and then someone on my team will go through and they'll pick everybody that we want. And what's nice is we can book them for the entire month. And so we know these same 18 sitters are coming every Sunday this month. And so again, that just like helps with the relationship building. Then our parents get to know they get to know the sitters. We get to know them really well, and the hope is that then they continue that next month. And I joked with Jody the other day, like they're always banging down my door, like, "When are you posting? When are you posting?" And I'm like, "Give me a second. I promise I'm doing it." Um, and so, but that is nice because it again creates that relationship and it lets them know like we want them, they want to be with us. And I think that is super helpful. But if ever there is like sometimes communication isn't great and someone in a different ministry area is like, hey, I actually need childcare for, this weekend. I can get on SitterTree and I can post, hey, I've got, this job available for this weekend. And we still get really quality sitters, which is incredible.
Thanks,
And I think
Ashley. Oh, sorry.
something that I haven't said, sorry, but I do think that this is important. There is a degree of direction and instruction that you can give to someone who is paid that you can't give to a volunteer. And so I think, again, in terms of safety, like there is a little more control that we have. And again, with like expectation setting that we maybe wouldn't have with parents, because parents parent children differently. And so they are going to look at the kids that are in their care and they're going to parent them the same way that they do their own kids. And so I just feel like sometimes that can get a little bit messy, but with people who have experience with childcare and people who are in the childcare field, I think it's a little easier to keep that kind of standard.
Thanks. And I'm going to actually open it up for questions to anyone. But before I do that, wanted to just say two resources that Ashley has shared, and we're going to be sharing them with you, is their welcome video, which kind of walks through here's what to expect on a Sunday morning in our children's ministry. It's wonderful. Just hits all of the safety things, don't leave the classroom, two people in the classroom at the same time, those types of things. But also, Ashley's written a blog that I think is also really valuable. So we're going to share that. And one last thing I would say, she mentioned ministering to the sitters, and we've seen in reviews that come back that Peachtree Church knows my name. I mean, it's actually incredible on the SitterTree end to just see reviews from the sitters that highlight how welcome and how hospitable the children's ministry is to them. So when she was saying that that's also an opportunity, I just want to compliment you, Ashley, is that we hear that from the sitters, which is really meaningful on our end as well. Um, so I'm going to take a moment and just open it up to questions. If anyone has a question for Ashley or for myself, happy to answer, but we'll hang on for another 5 to 10 minutes if anyone's willing to go over about 5 minutes. But if you have a question, just go ahead and unmute yourself and we'll try to respond.
Hi, my name is Sandra. Thank you so much for sharing. I am part of a church plant here in Texas, and I think we're running into that problem of like we're kind of the pace that we're growing at is we are not able to find the number of volunteers for our children's ministry, especially. And so I was interested in SitterTree, but I think I I had not considered using it on a Sunday until you had just shared about it, only because I wonder how I would get the parent buy-in for that, for having a non-church member, someone outside that we don't have relationship with, even though they have been background checked and have different credentials. And so if you can kind of speak onto that about parent buy-in for a church that's doing it for the first time.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. Jody, are you okay if I
Yeah,
answer?
please do.
So I think explaining to the parents that this is for them is helpful. Making sure, one, that you are fully confident when you are responding to them. I think that's huge. I mean, even at a church who's been doing this for over 5 years, like we still have parents that will come in and they're like, okay, but why? And my answer to them is, I want to be able to serve you and to serve your children in the best way possible. And in a season where you are stretched so thin, I don't want to ask more of you. And instead, I want to make sure that you're able to go to a Sunday school class, that you're able to listen and worship, and that you're able in that process to know, hey, my children are being cared for and loved on by people who are professionals in this field.
Thanks,
And
Sandra.
yeah, and also just to follow up, like what just as I'm like thinking through what we look at for a church, what are the common types of pushback did you guys get? Because I only have like what I could imagine.
I think I think the biggest one that I've gotten, and really like one of the only ones, because again, like our parents do really appreciate not having to be called on to be with littles, is, how do you manage curriculum or something to those lines, like with people who are not necessarily part of the church. And my response to that is that developmentally speaking in our nursery, and again, we're only using it in nursery, um, felt safety speaks way further than anything else, any kind of curriculum. And so I think before our children can understand um, what Jesus did for them, they need to understand that Jesus loves them. And I think the way that they understand that Jesus loves them is by being loved on by the people that they are around every Sunday morning. And so that's normally my response is normally something along those lines to any kind of parents that are asking about that specifically.
And Sandra, I can add to that a little bit in that sometimes SitterTree has gotten questions of, I want to book a Christian sitter. And we do not screen based on faith for people joining our app. However, what I will say is the more consistently you're able to book someone, you are able to have any conversation with them to determine. A lot of them you will see in their profile have previous church nursery experience at my own church. They talk about this in their profile. So you can actually have conversations to determine if this is someone that you would actually want to lead a lesson, are they aligned with your beliefs and do you want them to do other things? And so we've always encouraged churches, we don't screen, we don't ask those questions based on faith to join our app, but that's certainly something that I've seen churches do. I've actually volunteered at my own church nursery as they had a SitterTree sitter leading the lesson, and it was incredible. So they had worked with her for years, they knew where she stood. She wasn't just flipping through a book, like they had those conversations with her. But that's how some churches I know have approached it, is to get to know the sitters just like you would a volunteer to
I
make
was
sure
gonna say,
that.
yeah, I think that's in the same way that you would volunteers. You wouldn't just assume because they come to your church that they align necessarily theologically. And so it's a similar process.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hi, this is Elisa from Cary, North Carolina. I'm a children's ministry director, and we have a very rich culture of volunteerism at church, which I am incredibly grateful for. But we are also growing very rapidly and are taxing people. I'm interested in the nursery piece of this just because we have a number of older volunteers that love that baby time, you know. And so figuring out that puzzle is hard. We're having a hard time covering a Sunday night and some special event things. But I'm curious as to the idea of once you've gone to this model in
Hmm.
any piece or portion,
Hmm.
my sense is that you'll never go back to being able to do this all with volunteers. And I'm not putting a moral, I'm not
Right, right.
judging
Yeah.
that. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that one of the things that bothers my heart
Hmm.
is that because we have a rich volunteer culture, once I go there and parents are like, well, we're paying somebody to do that.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Do I, how do I continue to have to, because I have volunteer Sunday school teachers, I have volunteer Sunday evening leaders, I have volunteers all over the church doing things. How do you manage that?
I'm going to ask you a question, Elisa, which also I love that I get to see your face. You're the only person that I get to see on
Yeah.
this thing. What if your volunteers are serving because they are pouring from a full cup and they truly want to serve and they're not serving out of have to and out of guilt?
Yeah. And
think I think if the church culture is one of volunteering and that is the expectation, I don't think supplementing with SitterTree is going to change that culture. I think what it's going to do is it's going to give the people who are exhausted and close to burnout, it's going to give them the break and it's going to help them realize like my church cares for me. And they're not just here for what I can do for them. They're here to make sure that they serve me as well. And so I do think it's possible, especially with your church culture. I think it's just laying out expectations.
yeah, I appreciate what you said about a lot about the fact that you can talk about expectations with a sitter tree person and expect that it be managed with standardization. I mean, I love that. I understand that, differing parenting models, etc. Has there ever been a time when you haven't been able to fulfill your request through sitter tree?
No.
So there's a lot, the pool is big.
Yes.
And I will say it varies by market. We started in Atlanta. However, Peachtree posts regularly. And so the
Right.
more regularly you post, the more the childcare providers on the app are also looking for financial security. And so
Yeah.
they're more interested in recurring jobs where they know they're going to have a job that weekend. So that definitely helps. Also, the way that Peachtree treats their sitters, that also helps. You can see who gets more applicants and who doesn't. And so you know when the environment is welcoming and hospitable and consistent, it's also good for the sitters who are looking for that financial security. There are last minute cancellations. We track it as far as on the app, we'll track that as a percent. And what happens if sitters have to maintain, they can only have so many last minute cancellations before they're no longer given access to the app. So we do keep like that statistic. We try to keep reliable sitters on the app. But if there is a cancellation for some reason, your job is immediately reposted and you can rebook someone else. Same thing, everyone's been through the background check, verified their ID before joining the app. It's up to you whether or not you want to book them, or I think Peachtree actually has an auto book for their
Yeah.
favorite sitters. It'll automatically just rebook them. As opposed to if you have a volunteer call out last minute, you're on the hook to try to coordinate someone else, coming in as well. So there's certain things that happen. It just doesn't, it happens in a little different way because they're motivated. They're showing up to work for you. And so it's a different level of professionalism.
Right. And you said they've all been through child abuse, sex abuse training. Is that true?
No, not all of
No.
them. So we give the opportunity for sitters to earn badges, so CPR,
Got it.
first aid. So you can actually filter though to find ones who have completed different trainings. And then that's based on what you might require from your sitters.
Right.
We've also sometimes, like with a couple of them that we really like, I've let them know, like, hey, if you could get this badge, like I can make you a favorite sitter and you can come in, all the time and we would love to have you. But that's something that's important to me. So you can also just communicate that with the sitter if it's someone that you really like.
We've also
Yeah.
seen churches that are really pushing for disability care and to be able to
Yes.
allow families. And so there are also sitters who have disability care experience, RBTs, or like different credentials that are related to that. And so you can also, or they specify that they have experience with autism, which was a large one here in some of the churches we've spoken to. So you can actually filter for sitters who have experience with autism, Down syndrome, whatever the either experience might be. So we try to make it easy for you to find the right fit for what you need in your congregation.
And we typically we book like teachers, they commit for a year in my church, and nursery and children's church commit for 6 months at a time. Can you book out 6 months at a time?
Yeah, you could book out a year at a time if you want. And again, you're going to get the longer you can book out, the more consistently you're going to find someone because of the financial security it brings them. Even if they're like, I'm going to be out of town this week, or, you'll oftentimes they might book with you a time or two to make sure that they like it also. And
Sure.
then as you get to know them, they'll go in and apply to the rest of your jobs.
How does payment work? Do you pay when you book?
So at the end, you'll pay a booking fee to SitterTree, which you can prepay and you can get a discount for prepaying, kind of buying in bulk. But then at the end of the job, your sitter will like almost like Venmo, they're requesting. So SitterTree is just transferring your payment to them. So they're going to send you a payment request, submitting the hours that they worked. You can review those. You have 24 hours to review those. And then you can dispute if you're like, something ended earlier or started later, you can dispute, or you can go in and you just click pay. You don't have to do anything else other than that. And then we issue a 1099K form, which is again like Venmo, it's a payment transfer platform at the end of the year to the sitter for all payments that they receive. Because it's their business that they're promoting through our app, and then you're paying their business.
I'll also say we put a bunch of money in monthly, like into our SitterTree account. And
Got it.
so, I review, but I don't go in and pay. It just automatically pays them after 24 hours or something like that. And so, so I don't have to think about it. It's just one more thing that's automated for me, which is nice.
Okay.
And you can use ACH, which is very low fees. If you use a credit card to pay, there's obviously a processing fee for the credit card, but there's ACH is, I think it's free. Like if you do load on the amount, you don't pay any fee to use ACH.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Okay, it is 12:38. So if anyone does have a remaining question, happy to ask, or happy to answer that. But before you go, two things. If you haven't filled out the poll, we'd love to hear that. And then also in the email, SitterTree is going to just be offering a $50 credit for anyone who wants to try out the app if you are considering sourcing childcare support from outside of your congregation. We have a wonderful team who also is happy to jump on a call individually with you, just specifically speak about the needs of your congregation. And they work with a lot of different churches across the nation, and I'm sure they would be happy to answer any questions you have. Ashley, thank you once again. Thank you for the resources. Thank you for your expertise. And just, I have seen Ashley in action on a Sunday morning, and it is impressive. There are a lot
Happy
of
to, thank
families
you.
coming through, and she knows everyone's name. So, but thank you for joining us. And we will again be, you'll receive a follow-up email from us soon. But thanks all for your patience and for your grace with the Zoom. But we will be in touch soon. Okay, thanks so much.